The Tech Disruptors podcast is brought to you by the Average Dad Tech Store. Get all of your latest and greatest tech at averagedadofficial.com.
My left video just went viral.
I'ma strike back and take your whole empire. Spontaneous combustion. I'm on fire. I'm on fire. I'm on fire. I'm on fire.
Hello and welcome to the Tech Disruptors podcast. My name is Darren. This lovely co-host of mine is named.
My name is Jason.
And joining us for the very first time today, we're very happy to have OG, classic, the man, the number one.
Oh, wow.
TK Bay, how's it going, buddy?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Hope you guys are doing good. Enjoying a night. I mean, at least for us, it's a nice, beautiful, sunny Sunday.
It's a bit chilly here in Toronto, but it's
raining here.
Sunny. That's right. All right. There you go.
We're sucking up
really
all the
cold.
sunshine. Sorry about that
That's
part.
good.
But yeah.
It's all good.
Yeah.
Welcome to the
It's a
show.
nice warm day. Hey, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I know we weren't able to work out the scheduling, earlier, but luckily
It's all
everything
good.
worked out and we're here.
We're
Nice
here.
meeting
We're
you.
ready to talk tech. And
Before
we'll
we
start
go,
with
though,
you.
Darren, I have to apologize.
Oh, okay.
I was messing with this. If you noticed, when we turn mics off, it's my logo on there. I don't know what
That's
I did.
You
I
know
was
what?
trying to
That's
change this
okay.
to my face. Instead of
That's
Tech
okay. We'll
Disruptor.
take it.
So,
We'll
yeah.
take it. So we are the Tech Disruptors. For those of you who are tuning in for the very first time, or maybe long-time listeners, thank you for joining us again. TK, we'll start with you, buddy. So I know we've had a few different creators on the last couple of months, and so we always kind of start by kind of giving you your story. So, like, how did you get into this game? What was it got you to the spot you're at today, I guess, is our first question.
Oh, wow. So inception to basically to where we are now today now. Quick version of it is I've always been a tech enthusiast. I've always loved tech growing up. I was the kid that disassembled stuff. I was the kid that
Nice.
wants to figure out things, like, when your parents used to bring somebody in to try to fix something. I was the kid that was standing next to them watching them. 'Cause
Yeah.
to me, it's all about mechanics. It's all about understanding how technology worked. And I mean, this is back in, not to date myself, but like around the Atari, the Betamax videos, and just really old
Yep.
tech.
Okay.
Even the Atom computer.
So
Long
you're
time.
about 25 years old. Good to know. Good to know.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. I've been holding at 25 for quite some time, but
Yes.
definitely holding on that beautiful. So from that was the kind of inception, and then started playing around with Atom, the Commodore 64, earlier computer pieces of hardware that were primarily gaming for me, at least with the Commodore, but it was also a computer interface. You were able to do word editing and then jumping into the 386, 486, and then years later, when YouTube started to pick up for me and mobile devices started to be a little bit more smart, not just flip phones with displays, it was more so starting to have like the iPad. We were starting to look at Windows Mobile, and
Yeah.
T-Mobile started carrying some of these devices. The MDA for me is kind of like a catalyst, because it was a sliding device that allowed us to use Windows.
Yes.
And I was a big fan of XDA. That's how I stumbled on the site, xdadevelopers.com. And a few years later, Android kind of became even more of a thing. They put out a caller on their channel, actually saying, "Hey, we're looking for creators or people that want to be able to do tech." They gave me a chance. I
Wow,
knew
there you
nothing
go.
on how to film.
Yeah.
I was very awkward. Created my first video for them. They helped me kind of fine tune, and as time going on, I got to meet more creators, learned more, and fast forward to today, just kind of multiplication and just you get better as time goes on.
Yeah.
We're here. I'm no longer with XDA. That kind of changed. They're on their own way now, but solo creator, creating content, and just making friends along the way.
Amazing. Now, a lot of the time when we talk to these different creators, there's always like a day job they had before they got into tech. So, do you mind sharing what your day job was?
So it was tech, but it was primarily I was a consultant. The short version of it is basically a PC consultant. I stayed in the field of basically setting up networks, tech support, and so on. And that was like a previous job that I felt like still meant what I like to do. It was very heavy in
Yeah.
PCs, not very mobile for the most part. But I think as YouTube kind of picked up a little bit more for me, I still do it. It doesn't really go away entirely, but it kind of
Yeah.
stays on as a, when time is allowed, which is not always the case. But yeah, we try to keep it going.
Yeah, I mean, it's always fascinating to hear because I mean, Jason and I, we do this a labor of love, right? And I think everybody that does anything on YouTube, it's a labor of love.
Oh, absolutely.
You do it because you love tech.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, both Jason and I have kind of like different backgrounds. So I know Jason, Jason was introduced to PCs by his dad, if I remember that right, Jason.
Correct. Yep. Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
back in the 90s.
Yeah.
I was actually, it was interesting you say that because 4-H, if you're familiar with 4-H, and at first my first year was like woodworking. I made a puzzle, and my dad's like, "Why don't you build a computer?" My dad built computers
Oh wow, nice.
way before Dell, so I actually made a wood base, and we put like a 386 motherboard to an open like case, and I had like a
Like a
little
test bed,
sticker on-
basically, the way where we
Yeah.
do test bed configurations now.
Yeah, but I put stickers on all of it, and I made a big poster board. What each part did, like a GPU. It's not the GPU, but CPU. The at that time there was a math coprocessor, all that stuff,
I was going to say
and
that.
it was that's my introduction. Then we used to build, but yeah, that was my introduction to tech before.
Oh, remember the turbo button? That was the most important button that you
Yeah.
ever had on that thing.
Turbo
Out of the power. It was the turbo button.
Oh my
Yeah.
god, that's
Boost of
throwback.
44 kilohertz. Yeah,
Yes.
megahertz. Sorry. Yeah,
Yes.
I know.
Yeah. I think all PCs should have a turbo button, even now. Bring it back.
Bring back the
no.
turbo button.
That's it, right? Yeah.
And your game
Now,
is
so-
lagging and you can't
Blue
play and you're
hashtag.
not
That's
winning.
it. Yep.
Hit that turbo
Yeah,
button.
we're good.
Hashtag turbo button. There you
Hashtag
go.
turbo button.
So for me, like my father was never a computer guy. He was an audio guy. So he was into building hi-fi systems, speakers, that nature. And I remember my introduction to the first PC was actually my father had a friend of ours purchase a Commodore 64.
Oh, no, yeah.
And my dad was really into film as well, so he was a big fan of Star Wars. And one of the very first games I ever played was a Star Wars game on the Commodore 64. Now, you can probably imagine, gameplay was a lot of like green, monochrome kind of graphics. But
Of course.
I remember it vividly. Like I remember it being in this guy's garage, on this massive monitor, which was about 4 times, too big than what it needed to be.
It was fantastic at the time, though, when we first saw that it was something. Because remember, like prior to that, we had no concept of that, right? It didn't really exist. There's no reference point. And then to jump into a Commodore, to jump into let's say an Atari 2600, or even like an Atom computer, like just the concept of personal computing at a portable scale, that we're not talking about like server rooms the way it used to be back in the so it is light years. And yes, and the Commodore 64 I feel like is a gateway drug, if anything else. It just kind of
my
downfall
God.
from there. Yeah.
That's what got me
interesting.
hooked.
That's interesting you said that because like I remember like when the internet first started, we had to dial in. And I remember billboards.
Yeah.
I used to go to billboards. Like you have to
BBS, I know.
Yes. And we were like, oh my God, this is the most amazing thing ever. So I think you're right. Like we kind of gradually seen the progress of computers and software and AI, whatever.
Well, we grew up with it.
Yeah.
It is our coming of age type story, but we learned as it was developing. So as new things were coming up, we were right there to learn and absorb it. So you have that appreciation as opposed to just walking into awesomeness. You're like, so what does this do? But we understand. We remember the dial tone. We remember not being able to go online if your mom or your dad needed to use the phone, or your sibling is on the phone. And then when we got call waiting and you just actually are connected, but then somebody calls you and it disconnects you because call waiting does that little weird thing. A lot of pain, but we're better now.
We've gone past it.
I remember that pain very vividly as well. Yeah, nice.
I was actually just explaining to someone the other day, someone that's much younger than me. They were asking me about how did you switch? When you had a group phone call, how did you switch between the lines? And I was thinking back to myself. I'm like, I think there was a button, and then you pushed the line. I don't remember exactly because it's been a while since I've done that. But they were like just fascinated by this notion that you could switch between multiple callers in the same.
You had call waiting, call waiting. All the call features that we had back in the, if there's one thing I want to say, like that I appreciated, was the fact that we had tech, you needed to know how to use it.
Use it. Yes.
And the fact is, I mean, even prior to the standard modems that we had that are built into to our PCs, I mean, they used to have modems that were basically connected to a headset to a box. And
Yes.
they actually, the communications was done over audio. That's how the
Yeah.
communication was done. So it's amazing to say that nowadays we're able to talk across the internet at a very high fidelity, quality audio. We're streaming, we're doing,
Yeah.
audio, video at, again, just to me, if you asked the 10-year-old version of me, can this be possible? I would like, no way.
No. Yeah.
Me being able to talk to somebody across the world as simultaneously and as clearly as me talking to somebody sitting right in front of me is
Yeah.
amazing. But yeah, for sure.
Interesting.
Now-
Before we go on, I wanted to
Yeah.
say, I was talking to my kids. There's a show on YouTube called React Channel, and they have like kids. They had kids talking about the '90s tech, which to me was like yesterday. But my
Yeah.
kids were like, "Oh, I'm a boomer." No, I'm a
The
boomer.
1900s. Yes, I
Yeah.
remember. I recall the 1900s, the good old, the
Yeah.
dinosaurs apparently.
And I
used to
told my
roam there.
kids, I said, if you're on a phone call on a landline and someone else pick up the phone, you could actually hear them talking. He's like, "What? Really?" I'm like, "Yeah." I had to explain to my kids that when you're on a phone call on a landline, someone else could pick up the phone in the house and listen to
Yes.
what you're saying. You have to listen for breathing. They thought that.
No. Hey, believe it or not, we all know. You caught your parent listening to your call, like they're trying to just check in.
Oh yeah.
And or when you had to get those really long extension cords because the
Oh,
phone was
yes.
only positioned in the living room.
Yeah.
And you didn't have one in your room. You had to run it across. Yeah. Again, we
It's a
learned.
crazy world.
We-
Yeah.
yeah. When the wireless phone first became available, that was a lifesaver.
Oh, yeah.
No more cords
Oh.
running around. But yeah, for sure.
Now
Actually,
I'm
there used to
gonna
be
ask.
phones with earpieces. I don't know if you guys have ever seen those before.
Oh,
there
the
was
ones that.
They used to have a second
Yes.
earpiece on the side
Yes, I
so
remember.
that two people can
Oh, yeah.
listen, but
Yes.
one person can talk. So like you can have the headset and the other
Yeah.
person just had an earpiece.
Yes, I remember those. Yeah.
I'm
Wow, that
dating
was actually-
myself. The
You
1900s was
activated my
great.
brain there. I was just thinking. I'm like, I think my grandmother may have had one of those in her home.
Mhm.
And I like honestly had forgotten about that tech, and there you go, right? So yeah.
Oh, the
Yeah, it's-
1900s.
I know,
1900.
right? Yeah. Now, TK, I'm going to ask you, if you had to pinpoint a piece of tech that you engage with over your time here, what was the one piece of tech that, like, genuinely still to this day, when you got your hands on it, you went, "Oh my God, this thing is amazing"?
Oh,
Good question.
wow. So like
I know it's a tough question. I'm sorry. You
No,
engage with a lot
I
of
will
tech.
say, so the first aha moment that I had was when I left the BlackBerry Priv and started using Android for the first time on the Nexus, the first Nexus One or the original
Yeah.
Nexus. And I remember the adjustment period was a little bit hard because again, when you're using a BlackBerry, when you're using an iPad and so on, they're trying to mimic Windows. There's a file structure and so on. And then when I jumped over to
Familiarity.
Nexus, it was Android for the first time running natively. Not that I was dual booting it on Windows, which we also did. That was the biggest moment for me that I realized how much I like Android and why I enjoy the customizations and the things that Android allowed us to do, because the Priv is very locked down. It was very much it's a system that you basically, subscribe to. You could pay the services for what you're getting there. But Android, at least with the Nexus One, I can install an APK to change the color on the mouse, the little mouse ball at the bottom.
Yeah.
I was able
amazing.
to change the entire operating system on that phone, overclock it, undervolt it, just change different parameters of it to the
Yeah.
point where I felt like it was a PC in my hand. And that was the first, from that moment on to this day, I'm still in love with Android. I'm still in love with mobile tech. And the smartphone for me is a piece of tech that just culminates for me that, oh my God, what can we do? Like we can do so much more now that we've opened this door, where Windows was limited because again, representation the way it was, and it was kind of dying down at the time. And Android was starting at its infancy, and Google was actually putting ads on TV, so people knew what the Nexus
Who
was.
they were. Yeah.
Remember, that was one of the first ones they started, and then they stopped for a while because of the Nexus program. But yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. So it's appreciated, and I still am surprised what manufacturers can do. I mean, like to this day, the cameras that we get there, the horsepower, just the fact that we can actually do an entire podcast, edit it, render it, push it, and never
Yeah.
touch a PC.
Yeah.
That's
I know.
that's
crazy,
what I love
right?
about it. Yeah. No,
Well, I have a question for him. TK, I got a question for you. So,
Sure.
talking about Android, with Android, you have a lot of choice, different manufacturers, different UIs,
absolutely.
different regions, obviously. With Apple, you get what you get, and that's it.
They're getting better. They're getting better.
They're getting better.
I will give them their kudos. They're getting better. There's a lot more options now. But
Right.
to me, true customization is still an Android thing. Yeah.
But my question is, so Apple's Apple, Android's Android.
Yes.
Slab phones, and if anybody watches Captain Two Phones, he talks about when phones were fun again.
Yes.
What do slab phones, in your opinion, what do slab phones need to do to start more differentiation? I know nothing's got like customization with lights in the back and stuff like that, but
Yeah.
in your opinion, what would make a slab phone more exciting?
Fancier, exciting,
fancier, exciting,
Well,
exciting.
So I'll say this: we've done and to quote my buddy Juan Carlos Bagnell, the glowing rectangles form factor, because that was his subreddit that was running for a while. I think the form factor has reached its limit. We've reached the limit with what a square or a rectangular phone can do in the format that we have, because we've done curved glass, we've done flat glass, we've done high resolution glass, high refresh glass. All of the stuff is there, but we've done it so far. The innovations that we used to see from LG, those used to wow me all the time. Like the LG Flip or the LG Wing. They had the LG Flex. You guys remember the one that used to self-repair itself?
Yeah.
Like
I have
little
both of
curve?
them.
So those are the tech. That's when the manufacturers were trying to figure out the new form factor, what they could do to make it exciting again. Because all we are getting now, at least in this form factor, is either a thinner phone, some type of customization on the camera side. Will have a bigger bump, smaller bump, but for the most part, I feel like where Mr. Fisher, the conversation where devices were fun again, I wanted them to be fun again. I feel like foldables is the next. It's the multiplication of the rectangle is what I'm trying to lead to. Yeah. The singular display, I feel like we love, but we want to be able to do more. And the more you're able to make that leap between rectangle to that bigger form factor, like a tablet experience, that makes it even more functional for us, especially as tech nerds, because we want to be able to use it in laptop mode. We want to be able to use like the Oppo Find N5. I can connect to my Mac, and hopefully soon they're working on the PC side, and I can actually configure and manage my Mac directly as if it's on my device, regardless if I'm home or not. I'm not. And I feel like a rectangle by itself is hard for that to be. It'll be too crunched. And so I feel like foldables are the next generation. It's just we're still in that discovery phase, right? We're still seeing a lot of the experimentation, which is why it's exciting. We get to see the different flavors of how that tech can evolve.
Okay, fair enough. We before we got on, me and Darren were talking about LG, how like they experimented. We need a company to come back. Like what's the new Huawei? The Huawei
Pura X.
Oh, the Pura X.
I mean, beautiful design. Obviously, no Android. So I wish there was a company like HTC or LG that would. I mean, I know it's a business. It's all about money. They're going to lose money.
No, absolutely. The Pura X is. So whenever we look at Vanguard devices, and that's essentially what the Pura X is. It's a Vanguard device. It's a device that showcases what can be done. And Huawei's doing it right now because they're capable. I mean, if we really think about it realistically, the first devices that popularized multiple sensors on the back, like a triple sensor configuration on the back of your device, was a Huawei.
Yep.
And I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was the Mate 20. And I had that device, and it amazed me the way it was doing an amazing job. And from there on, we started to see more companies coming out and more devices come up with multiple cameras. Now we have 3 cameras, 4 cameras, depending what you're looking for. So I mean, you need companies like Huawei, you need companies like what LG used to be able to give us those innovations. And we're really lacking some of that. I think Oppo is pushing it. I think Honor's doing some good work as well on their foldables, and of course Huawei with their trifold technology. It's just that has to be the next one. I mean, look at that. It's like the what's it called? The Microsoft Duo married what's it called? A Z Flip. Or if you want it like a, you know what I mean? Like it has that combination of the two.
Yeah.
Because it it literally looks like a the Moto Razr Plus, slightly wider on top of a Duo from the outside, and then giving you that whole experience. And of course, fits in your pocket.
Well, I know there's companies doing it like Huawei. I'm saying here in North America, like US, we have nobody experimenting.
No, we got no one's doing that.
You got Apple, Samsung, and Google is pretty much it. There's
OnePlus maybe.
So OnePlus will leverage Oppo, which I really enjoy. The fact that
Yeah.
unfortunately we don't have the N5 or the Open 2 yet, and I'm hoping at some point that decision gets reversed, and we do see maybe a special edition version or something like that coming out in the US. The form factor is amazing. The thinness of this device and the rigidness of the hinge on this is crazy. The fact that they were able to do it and still have a USB-C port on it is crazy. So the Open was great. I think the N5 is amazing, and hopefully we'll see that. But you're right. There are talks about Apple being in the business of trying to make foldables. I mean, we have Motorola making foldables in the flip style, both the clamshell as far as the Razr and the Razr Plus. Google has their fold. Again, the second generation is better always, but no, not really like an innovative type of solution. It's still very much repeating everybody else's existing designs.
Well, speaking of someone who might know a little bit about some of these phones that are coming out, TK, I just want to introduce you to our Average Dad. This is Mike from Average Dad. Now, Mike, I know that you're getting, or you may already have your hands on the Pura X. Is that true?
It's true that I'm getting. I'm not going to lie and say I've got it yet. I'll have it in 3 days.
3 days time. Okay.
Yeah, Wednesday it'll be delivered here. I've gone for the nice red vegan leather one.
Nice.
Collector's editions. And TK, everything you've said is absolutely spot on in terms of innovation from the West and what other companies are doing and how the Pura X is designed. To me, it's like the original Pixel Fold shrunken down, just better. That's essentially what it is. Or the Motorola Razr Plus, just flipped and slightly wider. I've made a video this week just saying how Huawei they're always kind of first. They're the most innovative in my opinion, because they're not afraid to take chances and they'll just do it. They're filling gaps that a lot of people didn't know we actually needed with the XT, with the Pura X. I mean, already through the store I've sold like 22 Pura Xs. I've not confirmed price. I've not confirmed shipping. Well, I have now. 31st of March, you're shipping for general public. Price is pretty much nailed down. But the interest in Huawei. So my Pura X video had 22,000 views in the first 24 hours. And for a channel with 60K subs, that's massive for me.
Absolutely.
And it just shows the interest in Huawei, because they are trying new things. And they're like the Rebel. They are the people that people want to see Huawei succeed because all the odds are stacked against them.
So
the more that they're driven away from Google and Android now, which there is a workaround, Android proven, you will get Android. But anyway, but the more that they're driven away and it's harder for people, it's like, don't push the red button. If you're told not to, you're going to want to do it even more. And that's where Huawei are at just now. It's unfortunate, but that's where they're at just now. And while Google and Apple will create a clamshell in 2 years, that's all fine and dandy. But they're about 4 years behind Huawei, Oppo, Honor.
It's the sad's true. I mean, the fact is the first foldable that we had from Pixel from Google was how many years later after their first, and I really had a higher standard requirement for the first generation foldable, being that we've had so many, if nothing else, so many Z Folds out there, so many, V series from Honor, and even looking at some of the other options that we saw Oppo. I mean, Oppo's been making foldables for so many years. We're up to N5, technically 4 generations. Only one made it to the US, but they've been working on it. And they just don't seem to like, again, nothing against Samsung in the sense of what they're doing. They made it a popular item because they're the ones who are vanguarding this. But the problem with it is that we've been basically in a kind of a stuck situation in the design. We haven't really changed much. We got a slightly wider display. There's a special edition version of the Z Fold in Asia that maybe could be the Z Fold 7 for us, depending on the rumors and what you're looking for. But it's hard. Yeah. I mean, so, and we also have a lot more dependency on carriers in the US, which kind of hinders some of that competition that we don't have outside, because people outside of the US typically will either finance it directly, either get it through a carrier, or they can just buy it straight out, SIM free, and just cover the whole cost. It's a different game. And the 3 telcos in the US control so much, we just don't see it. It's one of the reasons why we only have so many.
And this is an argument I have, not an argument. This is what I'm trying to fight for when it comes to viewers of my channel and members and all this thing. Because when you're in these states, it's a completely backward system compared to the rest of the UK, the rest of the world. Sorry, you're nailed down with a carrier, and they dictate who you can and cannot use. I get constant messages
crazy.
to support saying, "I just bought the N5, or I've just bought the Samsung Special Edition from South Korea, and my network won't accept it." How is that even legal? How can a carrier tell you no?
It's your own device, your own SIM.
Exactly.
There's no reason. And all you're asking for them is access to the network. You're not again, and
you're
we have
paying for the
carriers here
access. You're paying for the access to the network. You're willing to pay the data plan, but because they're paid by Apple, they are to stock their phones and not stock anyone else's. It's always going to be the case, and it's very frustrating for, US is a huge market. And to just be castrated like that, it's very frustrating. But there's rebels in there like Huawei and others that are just like, fuck it, we're just going to push forward and
see what happens.
Exactly, let's see what happens.
Well, Mike, I will tell you, in the U.S., like I've had Verizon, you're not getting any phone on Verizon, nothing.
No.
AT&T
seems to be good.
T-Mobile's the same way. Like if I have a Xiaomi or a Vivo, like I had the X200 Pro, I put my AT&T SIM in it, it would work with data. But you couldn't make phone calls. RCS wouldn't work, which isn't a big issue for you guys, but here in the U.S., T-Mobile's the only real carrier that will not give you too much guff. I mean, too much issue with a phone.
I started recently. I'll say this on my Oppo Find X8 Pro. Whenever I put my SIM card back into that phone, I get a text message saying that your phone is not entirely compatible with their network, but it doesn't stop me from using it. It's more of a nudge. It's telling me, hey, we recognize you're using a non-T-Mobile.
Is that AT&T or T-Mobile?
No, T-Mobile in the Los Angeles.
Well, I use Google Fi. They don't give me that issue. Basically, you have to have the app, which is T-Mobile. But if you, like I was telling Darren, I have the Xiaomi 15 Ultra. Put my Google Fi SIM in. It says, hey, install the app, and it won't activate. It worked. Everything worked, but it wouldn't activate through the app. Did a research. Someone on Reddit said, go download this old APK from like 3 years ago. And I did, and it worked. And then you can update through Google Play. So it's not just, I'm not saying T-Mobile's foolproof. But yeah, AT&T
out of the three, if you're a fan of switching phones and consistently trying other devices and so on, you got to be on T-Mobile regardless of, and even if you go with an NVMO like Mint or some of the other carriers that we have in the US, because we have resellers of our main carrier. So the main three are at the top, and then you have subsidiaries, that sell their service, but they call it something else. Not Fi. Fi is a different experience because it actually jumps on multiple networks, but it's like, Mint essentially is T-Mobile, but it's just sold as Mint. But it's a tough one, and it will be a very hard story if T-Mobile ever adopts, AT&T policies or even Verizon. You're right. Verizon is literally I'm not saying they're the worst as a carrier, but in the compatibility side, you might as well not even bother. Yeah.
Now, can we just go back to the Pura X for 1 second? So I talked to Jason about this earlier in the week. So, actually, it might have just been earlier.
Darren, do not buy it. Do not buy it.
No, not.
I won't need to buy it. He'll ask me to send it to him, and I'll send it.
There you go.
Oh, okay. I thought he was going to be like, no, wait a minute, but here you go. Like,
No, so one of the things I wanted to bring up, and I've always said this, that the reason I think the Pura X is going to be so popular is because of a phone from a movie. So I don't know if you remember the movie Her. And if you remember the movie Her, it's a clamshell folding device about the size of a Motorola Razr, a little wider, a little taller, dual screen. But the first thing I thought of when I saw the Pura X, I was watching the release video, is I thought to myself, a company's done it. They've captured the essence of a smartphone in a smaller form factor that can close up, be put in your shirt pocket, and then unfold to get that larger form factor. Now, I always said to Jason, and Jason will be able to fact check me on this, that's the perfect form factor. That's what these companies are seeking to do. And I don't know if you remember from the movie, the concept of that, but it was an AI assistant powered smartphone with the capacity to open up to a larger device.
Wonder where it is. I know. Yeah.
That's exactly what the Pura X is. And from what I understand, the AI assistant is DeepSeek on the Pura X.
A company was trying to make a phone that was all done through AI. Now you remember
Yeah.
the Essential phone, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
They're
Oh,
working on
man.
this, the
Yeah.
Gem,
Yeah.
and this
Yeah.
phone was originally supposed to be, because obviously look at that screen, it's terrible.
You can,
Tiny. It was supposed to be all voice assistant.
Yeah.
Obviously, things happened and they're not in their favor. That was one of the companies, like what TK was saying with LG. Like I was really rooting for Essential because they were doing things different. You know, titanium, ceramic, notches,
yeah.
the pogo
they,
pins.
they were trying to take us back into like the early stages of where we first fell in love with devices that were customizable and you know, you could just make the device you're truly your own, because we've moved that, like there's still a very big modding community present online, but unfortunately most of it is in Asia now. Actually, India leads in modding devices as far as smartphones, as far when it comes down to support and technologies. Because in the US, for the most part, a lot of the customizations we used to edit for or modify our phones for are now built in. You know,
Yes.
themes, changing them because you want to change like a, you know, icon pack, the ability of changing the profile, going from a battery saving to, you know, performance mode. Those were where the governors used to be for us. And we used to have to customize all of these things. So we kind of shaped the story here. But yeah, I mean, I feel like Pura is pushing the technology. It's giving us that hope that this is going to start a whole new line of devices, because as you know, as things become more popular, other people suddenly discover them as well, and they invent them, you know, at some point when they make an announcement next to Apple. Sorry. Every time I watch an announcement from Apple, I feel like, hey, we just discovered that you can connect your phone to your laptop and you can control it from your laptop. Hey. And I'm like, insert Oppo, insert Realme, insert OnePlus, insert Huawei. They've had this for years, but again.
Well, Apple's a different story. And what I think last week, or not, we didn't go last week, but 2 weeks ago, we talked about Apple struggling with AI and all that stuff. And I told Darren, and maybe it was in the live stream too, Apple like to perfect. So they'll sit back, they'll watch what's popular, and they'll perfect it, at least to their customer base. But with AI, it's changing so rapidly. And this is just my opinion. I'm not saying I've read anything, but AI is changing so rapidly that Apple is already behind to begin with. And they're trying to catch up, and they can't just sit back and say, we're going to perfect this and shoot it out. Or we're not just going to buy TomTom Maps, you know, or ChatGPT, and we're going to be good. We actually got to do this. So I think that's why they're behind on AI and maybe foldables too. I don't know. I think the other option is if Apple releases a foldable,
it's over.
It's going to be popular.
Yeah.
So I will agree. I'll like to call them the Apple machine, but essentially the Apple machine does provide certain, well, because to a certain point,
I like it.
The way what you were describing is exactly what it is. It learns from what's exactly out there. It learns on how you know, the camera sensors need to be, the color science needs to be, the form factors, you know, the different functionalities, even with the AI that they're building in there, you know, Apple Intelligence, you know, AI, that was again very. I'll say that was a smart way of play on words, but the concern that I look at it with Apple right now is that a lot of the information they're building into the AI, they're trying to harvest it out of their own users. A lot of the new iOS updates that you get on your iPhone are turning on learning functionalities in the background to learn from your apps on your device that you may not even be aware was turned on. So there's that part of it that I feel like Apple is trying to figure, how do I get around or ahead of the game by just learning what my users are using and then try to apply that into the next system. It's just, like you said, it's hard to say what AI is going to be in 5 years, or if it's going to even be AI, or do we move on to a next iteration of it? I mean, what we have right now is a little bit of a, I would say, for the lack of a better term, a combination of true intelligence or true algorithmic and processing power level of intelligence and automation that is referred to as AI. Because you got a lot of people that like to peanut butter that term. What Apple's doing, what Google's doing, DeepSeek, and some of the, you know, ChatGPT and so on, those are basically trying to learn and evolve and get better. And we need to basically get those information, but you have to do it the right way. And like I said, Apple is learning; they're getting better. Maybe they'll perfect the foldable when they release it. But at least in the AI world,
they claim they will.
Oh no, they will definitely. They will invent it right on stage. I promise you that, and everybody in the world will know it exists.
And they'll sell so many of those things; it'll be the most popular form factor in the world. Well, at least in the US. Let's put it that way.
One thing to say though, software wise, just to bring up what you're saying, to kind of tag on to your point there, the issue is that Apple learned from their users, and the issue is Apple has no competition. There's no iOS skin that exists elsewhere. There's iOS and that's it. So for me, I think the opposite. The Apple foldable phone will probably have really nice, durable hardware. It will feel super premium. The software is going to be dog shit because it doesn't have the competition from other skins like One UI and ColorOS and OxygenOS and all this other stuff. And it needs to grow like One UI has. And to me, One UI is probably still one of the maybe the best skin. Let's be fair.
Oh no, absolutely.
But there's a
The
few
way they
out
left
there.
TouchWiz to One UI is amazing. From
the
the
development,
heat crap of whatever that was to where they are now. One UI is absolutely fantastic. Yes, no, for sure.
And I just don't see Apple doing that. I just don't think they care enough. They've got, your 11-year-old child or your 8-year-old granny that knows how to take calls and send a WhatsApp message. They're not bothered about, we'll have 3 floating windows, we'll have an open canvas, and we'll have these side-by-side apps. And for us, for our viewers, that's where Apple are going to have their downfall, in my opinion.
Do you want to know what I feel like?
On
yeah. Well, what I was going to say, you know what I feel like it's going to be like? You know how on an iPad you have that really shittily implemented multi-window, like you drag to the side? It's going to be that. It's going to be that and nothing else. Like,
I don't like to drag Apple through the mud. I mean, they're popular for a reason.
They are popular in to Jason's point. They are for the okay, so they're not prone to change. They do change, but they like to change things very in a small incremental process because they know that their users are, for the lack of a better term, it's kind of like Japan. Japan is very much strict into what they do, and they repeat things. They like how things work, and the thing, if it works, don't mess with it. Maybe improve it, but don't change it dramatically. And Apple does that every year. They don't dramatically change anything. They just minor changes here and there, and if anything, they'll innovate at that section. But you also have a very big fan base that started on iOS and they feel comfortable in iOS. There's that reason why people go back to them. We like Android maybe because that was our first device, or maybe we felt like at the time when we first started, iOS just wasn't giving us all of the bells and whistles. It wasn't as great maybe as gaming as some of the Android devices that we get. So it really just depends on the user base, and the longer you are on a specific user interface like iOS, One UI, even EMUI or any of the other skins that we have on for Android, you tend to prefer it. I personally like Nova Prime as much as I like any other skin. I install Nova Prime for me because that's how I like to interact with my phone. Nothing against any of the other UIs. One UI, although, is one of the closest, and then right after that, I think Xiaomi's getting pretty decent on their customization levels. I still wish they would let us install third-party launchers easily and keep gestures, but that is every time I see them, I always remind them, and they're like, "Hey, weak." You're like, you're talking to the wrong person. But So long story short, everybody has their own. But if Apple had competition, oh my God, yes. If you were allowed to install iOS on a non-Apple device.
I think the problem is like a lot of people say, well, I have an iPhone because I FaceTime. Well, we have Google Meet. It's not like, and you can use it on both platforms, not just one.
That is very much very much an us problem. Absolutely, right? Because I mean, I WhatsApp with everybody, even with friends and family here, and if not, it's Telegram. And we can do FaceTime. I had a conversation with my son one time because he was like, my friends want to FaceTime me, and I don't have an iPhone, and I said, just ask them to send you a link. They can generate a link directly into FaceTime on an iPhone to connect via the browser on an Android device if you really need to do it, or tell them to grow up and get a WhatsApp or get Telegram.
Exactly.
Or buy an Android. Buy your grandma an Android. No, I'm just kidding.
Get an Android. Yeah.
And to be fair, I'm the biggest hypocrite in the world because I'm using my iPhone 16 Pro Max on continuity camera with my Mac OS, using my AirPods at the moment. So I'm the biggest hypocrite. I like what Apple do. They are very good. I just wish they would innovate more. I just wish they would push the boundaries a bit more. They've got the money, they've got the resources. Why can't Apple be the first one to bring out the Pure X? Why couldn't it have been the Apple X? Why did it have to? That's that. I think that's my frustration.
They're a $1 trillion company. They don't have to.
Yeah, that's the thing.
The problem. And the other thing is iOS was everyone says, it's so simple. Now coming from Android, to me, it's more complicated because there's more steps.
Of course,
But I think iOS is just in general more complicated than it ever
Now,
has. There's like
yeah.
swiping this way is this, swiping that way is this, swiping. I mean, it's crazy how more complicated it is. And I think that's the iPhone issue is like they want to keep up and they're shoving it all in. I don't know. They're a juggernaut. They're not going anywhere.
Oh no,
I
no,
just
no,
think they're
and,
Yeah.
and they have a very solid, loyal user base. They're for sure. People that use iPhone will, like you said, if they release a foldable, they'll be stacking the roads basically one after another, waiting to pick it up. We'll be back into those, where people used to stay up overnight, for launches.
True.
Now, just to change up subject here, Jason actually purchased a very expensive gift this week for himself. Is that right, Jason? Do you
No.
mind if I share what you purchased?
I don't know what you're going to share, but I don't want to know.
So this caught my attention this week. The old Twitter logo that was plastered on their headquarters has sold
It's
for
in my lawn.
$34,000. Larry has its known. Jason is just mounted on his front lawn, so it's
Hey,
super
congratulations, Jason.
Yes.
weird. He's-
Christmas, we decorate it for Christmas, for Easter. We just put a hat on it. It's great.
It's perfect. Now, I wanted to just connect with you guys, ask you guys about this. So, first of all, is it overpriced? And second of all, who would buy this and why?
A certain Mr. E. Musk signed the purchase order for that one just to fire
Yes.
darts or something. But it's a piece of history, kind.
Yes.
I'll be
Yeah.
honest. If you'd added another zero on there, I thought, oh yeah, people are crazy. 34 grand. I mean, I don't know.
It's
It's
a
a
lot of money.
bargain.
I probably would say that thing alone, maybe just even building it, could be somewhere around close to 10K. Like from a design, build, deliver, mount, and install, all of that stuff. I mean, especially at a corporate level type thing. But there's definitely a nostalgia factor of it. I mean, there are still people out there that still refer to X as Twitter, like a
Twitter,
tweet,
yeah.
right?
Most,
Like,
yeah.
what did you do? Well, I'm going to tweet on X. We still
Yeah.
use the word
How do
tweeting.
you? Okay, I'm still being confused by this. So
Because you
when
can't say I've X'd on X. It just doesn't make
How
sense.
what do you say when you instead of tweet? What do you say?
What's the adjective you use?
Yeah, what's the- I don't know what it
I
is.
have I don't know. I've X'd. I'm like, I don't know. It just I think people still refer to it. If I'm not mistaken, I think if you type twitter.com, it still directs you to X to the X.com site.
Yeah.
I think for all intents and purposes, even though the name of the company may have changed, I think the function of sending a message on that system is a tweet.
Yeah.
Where any other system that you post, you refer to it's like, oh, I'm going to post on Threads. You don't say I'm going to tweet on Threads, but it's
True.
because we have the word tweet or the Twitter part of it. But it may fade out at some point. It may just turn into I just posted made a post on X. I think that's what I've heard some people say. But in general, I think a tweet is still.
I think that's a universal term. I think we
No,
should
you
keep
hit the
that.
point. I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
generationally, if X stays around long enough, there's going to be people that are going to be like, "What the hell's a tweet?"
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It's like, what do you
They're
mean
gonna
tweeting?
move on.
Are
Yeah.
you a bird?
Yeah.
Like, no.
Yeah.
It's a different song. I mean, the bird is the word, but that's just me. No, it holds a very special place because outside of YouTube, outside of what even Instagram is today, Twitter started it. That's really where the social communications, discourse, a lot of things were put there. I mean, obviously Reddit was also kind of a big factor in there, but the platform is used to announce, to respond publicly, to issue public statement. It's not just a social media platform. It's a platform for people to announce things. Like, again, like you see it on the news. People say, well, singer XYZ announced on X. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
When did that become a publication? You know what I mean? But it's so think of it as more of a publication type style. I think that was what I feel like, at least what Elon was trying to capture by taking over. I feel like the name should have stayed. I don't really feel like X needed to change for the sake of just having the name X. Like,
we won't get into that whole conversation.
we
no,
won't.
it really fits
rabbit
into
hole.
his Tesla kind of, if you think about it from the XYZ, the sexy,
sexy.
selling at the cars. So,
Yeah.
you get the X. So X is X.
Speaking of sexy, TK, I watched some of your videos on the Highland. Well, it's not really officially the Highland.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
and I bought some of those accessories based on some of your videos.
There you go. Yeah.
So I
hope
appreciate
you
those
enjoyed
videos
it.
because I was new to Tesla when I bought that Highland, and I'm like, I don't know what to get. And some of those things are
It was
amazing.
such an amazing. See, that's the thing about so Tesla, regardless of, with the things that are going on in the news and all of that, but
Yeah.
the reason why Tesla made sense to me and why I feel like people love Tesla is because it's a computer on wheels.
Yep.
But it's a customizable computer on wheels that you can go and change things, and people are like, well, you could panels are like, dude, it doesn't fall apart. But if you want to be able to add an extra, an info cluster in front of you, you want to add Android Auto in the car, you could do it. You want
Yeah.
to change the color of whatever. You want to install, slide like basically a window shade on the top.
Yep.
You could do that. You can install a light bar in the back, change everything you want. And I think that's what got me into Teslas, like my first Tesla. And then going from the early generation 3 to the Highland or the 24 onward Highland model, the suspension was so much better. The rideability was better. There was a lot of benefits in there.
Yeah.
And
So you had that perspective. My first one was a 2024. So
yeah,
and now
to me it was an upgrade. Like I got to 24, I was like,
Right.
whoa, this is nice.
It drives fantastic, and everyone's all these, because quality issues. And if you get in the groups, in the forums, and Facebook and X, yeah, there's a ton of issues. But I personally have had no issues with that car.
Yeah.
I had the garage door opener installed, and
That's about the one. I think I may end up springing for that one. It's just I think it was like I need to set up an appointment for them to come and activate it or
my
something
house
like
and
that.
did it.
Yeah,
On the
they do that.
Highland, he goes, I've never installed one on a Highland. This is made for the last year. I'm like, oh, great. So
He's
Yeah.
learning.
we got it working. He left. The guy left, and then the next day it just wouldn't work. So I went into the service menu, did a couple resets, and it was fine. And I didn't have to call him back. But for me, Tesla was. I know Elon's got a different point of view. I'm not
Yeah.
trying to get political at all.
No.
I didn't buy the car because of Elon. I didn't buy it because of a public party. I bought it because I'm a tech guy, and Tesla's
Yeah.
been doing it for the longest, and they have full self-driving, and the technology is like fantastic.
Absolutely.
It is, and
Yeah.
I love it. And either way, I just wanted to say I appreciate your videos. 'Cause,
No.
you got to
Thank you.
respect a certain YouTube. I'm not going to go look at some guy I never heard of before and say, "Oh, he's going to say this." I actually enjoyed a lot of those accessories that I purchased, and they were based on your opinion. So
There's so much. So I get so many emails on. I just right now I'm trying to juggle the time because a lot of those videos take more time outdoors. So
Yep.
especially when you're like
Yeah.
testing out, like the info cluster that I got right in front, it took me about almost like a whole month of testing it because there was software updates, little things there, going back and forth with the developers, trying to fix an initial release that they put out there. But I think it's just. Yeah, I appreciate it, and it's
something
nice
like
to be
that
able
I
to
haven't
custom.
jumped on. I want to get one of those in front, but I'm like, that's a little more intense because you got to pop panels off, and I've done it with gas cars, like ice cars. I just with a Tesla, I'm new to it yet, so I haven't jumped into that. But I'm talking about like other things, like the
No, absolutely.
the windows. It's all window on top.
Mhm.
So in
Yeah.
the summer, you're going to burn up, and it's
Dude,
gonna
I
feel
know,
like you're
I
like-
know. Trust me.
Yeah, me too.
Literally, I've had it. I've had it for many years. When I saw that as an accessory, I'm like, yes, I want it yesterday.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
care what you do, just give it to me. I need it. Yeah. I wish I had gone with the automatic version of it, the one that was powered
Yeah.
over.
It's expensive.
It is a lot more, but I think overall it's still, again, very, very nice. A lot of tech, and we'll see if AI ever becomes I don't know, man. A lot more like the self-driving, the way we have it now is crazy. It starts from Spark, it gets you now, and it parks for you, and no longer stops in the middle
I
of the
know it's
road.
crazy.
And so
That's nuts to me.
and the robotaxi thing's coming up. So yeah, a lot of cool
Yeah.
things coming
We're
up.
not going to touch the Mark Rober video. I know it's been a big controversy.
Yeah, the fake walls.
I don't
yeah.
want to get into that. I could go for 3
yeah, I
hours
mean-
on that, but yeah.
Can I ask the question? Just I saw the video. Why
Yeah.
are we testing that?
Because
Like,
it's Mark.
we're-
Because it's
yeah.
a YouTube video.
He's an engineer.
yeah.
He's inquisitive. It's
No,
a
but,
fun video.
like, so
Everyone hates him.
forgive my ignorance. Why would we expect to know a car to know the difference between a fake wall and a real road? You know what I'm saying? Like, why would we expect our vehicle to know that difference? Like, who is
Because
going to
Darren,
do
what if
that?
you're driving down the road and
Yeah. What is this? Like a Looney
someone
Tunes
moves
cartoon?
movies
Like
that moves-
a brick
Somebody
wall?
draw.
Like,
the big
an
issue
external
that
line.
happened was that LiDAR is a sensor. It's a radar sensor. And Tesla
And-
said, "Hey, we're getting rid of it, probably for money reasons, whatever."
Yeah.
They didn't have LiDAR, but they had something similar.
a licensing for sure.
Right.
No,
Well,
no,
whatever it is.
my first Model 3 had the system, and it was
Yeah.
deactivated to
Yes.
use vision-based because they decided not to use it anymore.
But now they're reactivating the LiDAR or the radar inside the cabin, but that's a different story.
I know.
So it's just one of those things where some Tesla owner redid the video and he used a Cybertruck, which has the hardware version 4, which we have in the Highland,
Mhm.
and it actually stopped. So it's like,
Right.
I'm not mad at Mark Rober. He's making a video. He got
Yeah,
like
he's making
50
he's
million
making
views
content.
on that thing. I mean, it
Yeah.
got some controversy. The problem is someone like him can actually make a difference in something. Whereas
Influence,
someone
isn't
who,
it?
yeah,
You know what I want to see? And after I watched that video, and I talked about Looney Tunes, I'm not even joking. I want someone to get Wile E. Coyote on a big board and just run it out in front of a Tesla and see if it'll stop. Like, that's what I want.
With
I
an
want him to be
anvil?
Yeah,
With
well,
a
yeah.
anvil on his head.
Yeah, like an anvil
With
falling.
an
I want to
Acme,
see.
with an Acme anvil. Yeah, no.
Yeah, I just
Yeah,
think that would be funny to see. There's a YouTube video idea right there for all our listeners who are pondering.
Pondering
now-
ideas with their Teslas. Yes.
Speaking of things that were tweeted about a lot this week, can we talk about this little gem? So,
my God. Resurrection.
Pebble has been resurrected, brought back from the dead. They're coming back with 2 new e-paper smartwatches running on the open source Pebble OS, which you can still access today.
Yep.
Thank
you, Google.
It got a lot of talk, a lot of conversation about this, because I think this, talking about nostalgic products, I think almost everybody who loves tech's first smartwatch was a Pebble watch. And, arguably, the origin story of the Apple Watch and, all of these smartwatches, which we now know today, comes from, this company. So, first of all, TK, Average Dad, Jason, is this something that you would wear on your wrist for nostalgic purposes?
So
go ahead.
I'll say this. I was very, very lost when I saw the announcement. And I say that mostly because I was a very avid user of a Pebble watch, and I loved the integration of Tasker with Pebble, the functional options that we were able to add to it, the open sourceness, just everything about it was amazing. And when I saw it, when it basically just ceased to happen, I've had to rely on other ecosystems, namely Wear OS, and I've been using it for so many years. And just, I'll say this: will I own one? Yes. Will I wear it on a daily? It's a little bit hard, at least in the current version that where they're trying to bring it back with, because what it's coming back with is it's still living up to what it was before. They're not really reinventing it in a sense. They're giving us essentially, it's almost like it's like a video that you hit pause on, and then we're restarting again from this point back. We just have 2 pieces of hardware now we are able to jump into, and they're reasonably priced. They're not actually overpriced for what they're trying to, because they could have gone for the super expensive nostalgia effect kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because I think those are the people that are going to buy it first. It's not going to be the new person out there, because they'll be like, well, I can get an Apple Watch for $200. I can get a used Apple Watch 6 or whatever. Again, insert Apple Watch in conversation. I think it's amazing. I think the fact that it's back, it's nice. I hope it does make it, but we need to see some innovation in it to push it beyond what it used to be. Because when it ended, it was still being developed. It was still growing as an ecosystem, and it just kind of like, the wind was just turned off from its sails, and it couldn't go anywhere.
So my
my
question is,
very good point.
Sorry, Mike, I just wanted to do you think this is a cash grab at first? No, let me finish. To make some money so that they can bring in their more innovative product.
Okay, so I pre-ordered the color because it was more advanced than the original.
Okay.
And then I canceled it because I'm thinking for $220 or $225, I think it was, and $10 shipping. I'm like, for $235, like TK said, I get a Wear OS watch.
One
for a lot less. And speaking of that, even like, so a lot of times, like when I get my Xiaomi, I use a shipping service. I order it from, have a UK address, and like the Xiaomi S4, it's not Android Wear OS. It has 15 days battery life, but it probably has more functionality than at least the black and white Pebble or the color.
Oh yeah.
So to me, it's like, I think this founder, its OS is open source. So other manufacturers are going to jump in and advance the software. I don't know. This is the first iteration.
And people still care. I'm
with TK. It's like picked up where they left off. There's
They,
no
they've
more
moved,
real.
yeah. It's
Yeah.
the developers also that are going to want to come back and jump on it. This is where what made Pebble so great back when it was first released. You had a development community that built around it. People were buying it to develop for it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And now people, if they're buying it for that nostalgia effect. But the developers may not jump on it till there's a big enough of a user base. This is where you start looking at like how do developers kind of build, and when they look at the user base, is this worth my time to invest to learn to work and build for this ecosystem that isn't based on any other ecosystem?
Yeah.
Open sourceness is great. Interest is what's going to make this. So either they have a built-in development team that's going to be just literally cranking out features back to back to back, or find outside developers that are willing to basically work on their platform and bring their applications, bring their support, and make it seamless. Because without that, unfortunately, the ecosystem will just again be where it left off.
Yeah.
Darren's point, though, you're right. Darren, you're right. You have a good point, because I think they rushed to get something out to make. I'm not saying it's a cash grab.
No, but to make some money.
Look, he lost a lot. This was his baby, so he's pushing. And again, this is all hearsay. I'm not a professional by any means, but I'm like, he's pushing this out here. It's my issue with this is if it doesn't sell well, is it going to die again? Right here.
Yeah.
Because it can be the nothing watch. You look at that and tell me that's not what the nothing watch would be.
That's
nothing.
Pebble
nothing
OS.
were making a watch. This is what it would look like if they had collabed with Pebble to think about this. Look for your nostalgic ones, but here on the back end, you can choose between two software options. You've got this, or you can go modern. There's so much that they've missed the ball on here for me. This is purely for people that had a Pebble watch and like, yeah, screw it, I'll spend a couple $100 on this. I'll probably never wear it. But if they'd collaborated with someone like Nothing and there was more to it, I feel,
with Nothing. But Mike, with Nothing, they could actually advance this OS and make it's already obviously it supports touchscreen. They could add all kinds of stuff, and if it's big enough, they could start getting support from like Wear OS, like third-party apps, which is for me is the biggest thing. I mean, Apple and Wear OS. Obviously, Apple's king, but Wear OS has got a lot of, and Apple they've got that third-party support where Pebble was working on that. Then it was kind of like, oh, we're done. So
if you see him before me, it was my idea, but you can have some credit.
I was just about to say that. Yeah, we'll have to pass Mike's name on there.
So Nothing, you're welcome.
I honestly didn't think of that, Mike, but it's funny that you say that because I think you're 100% on the money. This would be the perfect collab for a brand.
Yeah, but not just Nothing. Xiaomi's obviously their newest watch doesn't use Wear OS. Amazfit doesn't use Wear OS.
No. So OnePlus does Wear OS and RTOS. So RTOS is the most popular secondary operating system smartwatches with the fitness trackers that we say. And it's a low power, very battery efficient. It gets to 12 to 15, 16 days. That's how we're able to get those with displays that are color displays, that are OLED displays. So like the S4 is an amazing watch. Like seriously, some of the things you're able to do there, the gestures you could do with the tablet, even just customizing the ring on it. I think the biggest thing overall when it comes down to Pebble, because the software is open source, right? So that part they can't, it's not like they could just sell that. You have the form factor is what they live and die with. So if Nothing takes over, they already have a line of watches. So it would have to be an extra version of it. The development, again, still they need developer support. They need that fun factor. It's like when we were talking about Tesla. If there was no accessories for Tesla to be modded and Tesla was just the way it is, after a few months, Tesla just kind of like, okay, I can't do anything with it, but it looks nice. It's futuristic. Yeah. But you have that ecosystem behind it. All of our smartphones, when we like when we put a case on our phone, when we get buds, that ecosystem, it has to be the ecosystem. A product on its own nowadays can't just live by itself because it has to fit into what you have. And Pebble needs to be able to make that line, make it connect and make it sense, or make it make sense for somebody to say, you know what? I don't need all the bells and whistles. I do really need my heart rate tracking. I like a color display. And for about $230, $220 or so, depending where you're getting it, this does it for me. And it hits that nostalgia effect. Correct. That may work, but that's going to be such a small niche market. I don't know if you can build a company on. So you have to find a way to expand to the masses.
And so, I mean, we know we're big fans of smartwatches, and we've talked a lot about, the OnePlus Watch and stuff like that. But I think you're 100% right. Yeah, it's nostalgia, and nostalgia sells, right? It does.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, look at all these companies that have brought stuff back.
Yeah.
Now,
yeah.
before we wrap up today's show, I was talking to Jason about this earlier as well. We're a big fan of robotics on this show.
Oh yeah.
So, and we haven't had a lot of robotic stories lately. Like, I know last year we were, like, towards the end of the year, we were starting to see some really big advances, but there were 3 things that caught my attention this week, and I just want to share them with you guys and get your feedback on it. So I'll start with...
Hold on.
Yeah.
It's not a Mac and Me video,
No,
is
it's
it?
not a Mac and Me
I
video,
will
I
kick
promise.
you out of this show.
No. So we'll start with the company that everybody knows. So this is Boston Dynamics shared this video earlier this week. So
this.
I just want to, I'll just play this for you guys. So, Boston Dynamics and other. And so if you haven't seen Boston Dynamics robot,
crazy.
it is very creepy on what it can do and how fluid
Is
it's
it creepy,
becoming.
or is it like, hey, we're advancing?
Look at us. Yeah.
Terminator
the
Salvation,
camera
we're all gone.
Like,
Okay, that's it. Yeah, I'm gonna
Yeah.
pack my bags now. And,
yeah, seriously.
Where are you going to go, though? Was it
on,
Terminator when they
an
went
island in the
mountains?
middle of the Maldives where there's no power?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Like,
Oh, crap.
that's crazy
Mount-
to me.
Did they go to a mountain
Yeah.
in a bunker and let the
Like-
world explode?
Jesus.
What?
The engineering that goes into this is just
Yeah.
insane. I mean,
Okay.
oh my God.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
crazy
That's
programming. Right
wild.
there.
I saw that this week and went, okay, we're doomed. Exactly like TK.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to pack my shit up and go home. But then,
Do we get
I
the Skynet
saw
email
the-
today or tomorrow?
Yeah.
Is that-
Yeah,
when-
seriously.
When do we get to, like, we were
Charlie Brooker,
We need you
Black
in the
Mirror,
pod.
there we go.
So that alarmed me. If this alarmed me, the next video made the alarm bells go off. So the next one I'm going to show you here was from Unitree.
Mhm.
So this is Unitree Robotics with their crazy robot.
Oh, the music helps with the drum.
Yeah, it gets you really going, doesn't it?
Like, that just backflipped up onto its feet. Now it's firing.
I could take it.
No, that's not
Yeah.
real.
That is real,
That was
100%.
Are you sure?
No, this is Unitree.
No.
It is
High key, huh?
100%. So what they've used here, Unitree does a little bit of a different approach. So they
Hold on. It's in a
It
Tesla
looks
thing
like
where like
AI.
someone's controlling
No,
it. And, like,
it's-
talking to- okay.
I promise you, Mike, this was posted on their YouTube channel. It is not AI generated. I did fact check.
What?
That's crazy.
Oh, well, that's
that
just-
right there.
Yeah.
my mind.
That's advanced right there.
All right, so that's Unitree getting
I've never heard
robot.
of Unitree.
Just so
Yeah.
you know, that scene that we just saw is the reason why we're going to get our ass kicked by this
Yes,
robot.
yes.
It's because we treated
yeah.
them so badly at the beginning. Remember,
don't-
we need
Now,
to,
what's
we need
that
to
movie on
welcome our,
Netflix?
our overlords right now and just kind of, you know.
Yeah.
Didn't you watch Electric State? Has anybody seen
I
Electric
know,
State
yeah.
on
I
Netflix?
know,
No,
Electric
no.
State,
It's
yeah.
like there's a war between the robots and the humans because humans created robots to do all our dirty jobs, and they got mad and they wanted rights. So like there was a war between the robots and the humans. The humans actually won. It's kind of it got bad reviews, but it's kind of like that. Like
Yeah, it's a
hey,
good commentary on
we
society.
created robots, and then
Yeah.
we have to fight them.
Okay, now last but not least, if this one was linking off alarm
Okay,
bells,
let
this
me
one might
let me
just
kick Darren out
impress-
right now. I can tell.
No, I promise you, this is not me fucking around. So this next one might impress you. So this was posted. This is a company in China, their very first AI robot. So I won't give you a preference. It's obviously not in English, but I want you to just watch the robotic.
Did you have axes in his belt? Like,
Yeah, there's
what the-
actors in this as well, so it's a little bit of a setup.
No,
But
he
it's
has axes in his belt. You see that guy?
Oh yeah. So this is Engine AI is the company. This is China's first AI robot. But I want you to watch closely because it's a bit like a theatrical movie here. You know.
That's not what I expected.
Uh,
No, but
I
keep
saw the
watching the
setup, yeah.
fluidity.
Yeah, that thing is fluid. Why
Yeah.
does the chest have to glow red?
I know. I don't get that either. Why
Iron
does it look
Man
like
needs
Iron Man?
Yeah.
Yeah. The arc reactor right there. But no, so the Axe Gang is it's a commonly used Asian,
Yeah.
I would say gang. Yeah, basically, they call them the Axe Gang, so that's where they're bringing that from.
Oh, the axe thing. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. There's
Well, I
there's
saw
a
the guy
lot of,
walking down the hallway and he had axe in his belt. I'm like, why
Yeah.
do you have?
yeah. So especially that actor that you just saw, the last one that was there, he
Yeah.
has a Shaolin Soccer. If you've ever
Yes.
watched that movie,
Yes.
and
Okay,
the
yeah.
main bad guys are the Axe Gang. Essentially, they were running around with axes, and so yeah,
I love a bad guy that has a good
they're
act.
very much
Why not?
riffing off of that, making it a little bit more funny. But NSYNC is basically done for at this point. No more boy band.
Well,
Now we have robot.
Yeah,
Yeah, we don't
Well-
need boy bands.
I will. And we've gone through the gauntlet of a lot of these robot videos last year. Jason and I will be able to attest to that. Those are the three. Those came out this week. They all posted in this around the same time.
That's so far. That's
so
so
far,
far.
the best so far we've seen, and slightly creepy.
Well, in a vacuum, it can be scary. But
yeah,
I think
no.
what we're seeing is
All about
innovation.
perspective,
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
for sure.
I think everyone hates government interaction, but I think there's got to be regulation so it doesn't get in the wrong hands. But just like the real world, there's going to be bad actors out there that are going to do stupid stuff. So,
true.
yeah.
Well, listen, if the worst that my robot can do is dance like that, I'm okay with that. I'm
Very
not
good.
so good with it, fighting back and sparring. That kind of bothered me a little bit, but that's okay. That's the world we live
So
in.
Darren ordered one, and he's got a Backstreet Boys song ready, all queued
It's
up. They're
true.
going to dance. They're going to do, oh no, NSYNC, bye, bye, bye.
NSYNC,
Right?
bye.
That's correct.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The Deadpool collab, very much
Yeah.
coming up there. Yep. No. I'm with
We're
you.
just another week closer to that Hugh Jackman robot fighting movie. Remember that
Yes.
one? Real Steel or
Oh,
whatever?
Real Steel. Real Steel,
Real
right?
Steel. Yeah.
Did I
Oh
just say
man.
that? I didn't know
I
that.
like
I'm
it.
just kidding.
Yeah.
That's
We
right.
just-
It was right. Love that movie. Well-
I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, no, I mean, just think of it at scale, right? This one was made to be more human sized. Scale it up, add some
Yep.
controls, and obviously not a joystick, but essentially more better integration with maybe Neuralinks or stuff. And
Yeah.
it's a
Ready
technology
Player
that
2 movie script right there.
Finally, a
Yeah, no,
function for the
exactly.
Vision Pro.
Exactly.
There you
Vision
go.
Pro with Apple
Ah,
intelligence
just
and all
do
of
the
that. Good
Quest.
stuff.
Come on.
Oh, I love it.
You can have Tim Cook's face on everything, or just basically walk around with
His
just have
face
Tim
on the
walk.
outside would be amazing. I would love
Could you imagine like people in New York City all with a Tim Cook face?
to face on the outside. I think you should be able to customize. That should be whoever you want it to
It
be.
should be Steve Jobs, actually. But
Steve
Oh, that's
Oh,
true. That's
I
true.
think
No.
that's good.
You would want Steve Jobs.
Steve
Exactly.
Jobs. Yeah.
Yeah.
You
Go
would.
back in the OG. You know what? Like Jason was saying, and hopefully we'll have some better regulation as far as how it's used. But I wouldn't be surprised if within the next 10, 20 years, we maybe even at the point where we will have a robot, some type of an assistant at home. Because the
Not for
way we
sure,
are right now,
yeah.
think about it, just the fact of where we are. The tech right now is purely for demonstration, but we have smart vacuums at home that literally know where, like at CES this year, they had they're starting to develop vacuums that have robotic arms.
Yes.
Yeah.
we
Yeah,
talked
Right,
about that.
Roborock,
the Roborox one. So we're getting into the point of, and most of the new smart vacuums, by the way, I don't know if you know this or not, but since I do quite a few of them, now have built-in cameras. They're like RC cars.
Yes.
And you can literally ride them around the house.
Ride 'em
chase
around,
them
That
yeah.
robot
Make
one
that-
has a camera. It tells it, hey, this is an obstacle. Do you want us to avoid this next time? Like,
Yeah.
it
No, no.
asks you.
They're getting better, and so
But-
just think of it at scale. If you're able to program it and have that,
Yeah.
have your house clean and not have to worry about having to go yourself and do everything, especially when you're not home. I wouldn't be surprised if somebody spends money for it. I mean, maybe not the human-looking ones that we see at CES. The ones they're trying to
Super
make it
creepy.
very
Right, right.
humanistic.
Yeah.
From a functional robot, though, I think it's amazing what they're able to do now.
We're
That
missing one point, though.
we
I
need
have
to be able.
kids. What are my kids going to do? Aren't they supposed to do
Yeah.
chores?
I know.
Hey,
that's
you
exactly
clean that.
right.
You clean the house. I'm not calling a
know.
robot. to do
They,
it.
they need to learn
Robot to do it.
mechanical engineering to learn how to maintain the robot, because that's how what I'm saying.
Right.
Software
So
engineering. Yeah.
You have to kind
Actually-
of leverage the tech, right? They need to learn to be mechanical engineers by the time there's like 8 or 9 or 10, so they can
Right.
take
To
care of
be
the
able to
robot.
repair the robot, or it's not worth it
Exactly.
anymore.
It's like,
Yeah,
Yeah,
son,
what about
I think
cleans your room? It's
Exactly.
broken. Go fix it.
Exactly. That's right. Well, listen, that actually brings us to the end of today's show. I just want to say a big thank you. Thank you very much, Mike, TK. We really appreciate you guys being on the show and coming here and hanging out with Jason and I and talking tech. And for those of you who are catching us, we are live on YouTube. You can also catch us on Apple Music, Spotify, Good Pods, everywhere you find amazing tech podcasts. And we're here every Sunday, 4 p.m. Eastern, talking all the latest and greatest news of the day and some scary robotic stuff just for good measure. Please check out the Average Dad Tech Store if you need to buy all of your amazing and fantastic tech and smartphones and everything in between that's coming out really soon. And check out TK Bay, his YouTube channel, and all of his social media. Same with Jason. And if you would like to like and subscribe to our lovely podcast here, we would appreciate it. But until